Welcome back to Reenacting. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the Military Harbor M42 HBT uniform. As you can see, I have it here in front of me, as well as my current ATF at the front M43 model of the German HBT uniform. So I recently picked up this M42 model from Military Harbor, and I wanted to do a review on it just to kind of compare and contrast it versus the ATF, and just to kind of show you what you're getting into should you be looking at getting one of these tunics. So to start off, as you can see, it is the M42 model. It still has the scallops on the pocket flaps, but they have omitted the pleats on the pockets themselves. Whereas if we go over here, this is the M43 model with the straight cut pocket flaps and then no pleats on the pockets themselves. So to go over first, something else to point out is if you look at the two tunics side by side, you can see that the Military Harbor one is actually a little bit smaller in length primarily. And this is actually something that I kind of like about it, because this is the ATF medium tunic versus the medium for Military Harbor. Now, I'm not exactly a super tall guy, so the Military Harbor one actually fits my dimensions a little bit better in terms of sleeve length and just overall length of the tunic itself. So you can see with the tunic, there's about a good 1.5 to 2 inches that the ATF tunic is longer than the Military Harbor one. So that's just kind of an interesting little note here. Something else you can notice is that the space between the pockets here is about the space of my hand. And if we go over to the ATF one, there's way more space in between the two of those. And that's partly because, like I said, due to the tunic being longer and just a little more loose fitting versus the shorter tunic. And also, something that I noticed is that, if I use my sold book to compare right here, the Military Harbor pockets, the chest pockets, are a little bit longer. There we go. Are a little bit longer here. So if we put my sold book up to compare, we've got an extra little, maybe thumb length's worth at the top there. Now if we bring this over to the ATF pockets, it just about barely matches with the sold book. So those pockets are a little bit longer. So something interesting to note, I didn't look into any of actual specifications of what the proper pocket length should be. I know documentation like that exists out there, but for the purpose of this video I didn't bother to look into it. But just something of note, so if it poses a problem for you and you wanted to look into it, then there you go, you can go ahead and look at it. Something else to note here is the material itself is side by side right here, and I know with video quality it's not going to be the best, but the minor differences that you can see in the shading here from the ATF one and the Military Harbor are pretty much just because I've worn this and it has gotten weathered a little bit. Otherwise, the shade and color of the fabrics are very, 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 very close. I think Military Harbor did a good job on getting that proper color down. And another thing with just the quality of the fabric itself, I'd say that they're almost equal compared to, the ATF fabric is quite good, and the Military Harbor is not really thin or feels like it's going to tear or fall apart. It really matches it in terms of just overall durability and the feel of it. So, for being a Chinese product, I know some people may be like, "Ooh, that's scary," and that may be off-putting to them. But I think they did a really good job matching the quality and overall color. Now, if we take a look on the inside of the tunic here, one thing that I do want to point out is that the lining of the Military Harbor is actually made out of canvas linen material. You can see right here with the pocket kind of up close. And this is something that is interesting to note, because as far as I'm aware, and we'll go over to compare here with the ATF Tunic, as far as I'm aware, there are no instances of HBT tunics using linen linings. All of them had rayon linings, which is an artificial silk. So you can see, especially in the video here, that this is like super shiny. It is very silky and feels, very smooth. Of all the pictures I've studied of original HBT tunics, every single one I've seen has a rayon lining. So unless the Military Harbor just decided to copy like a fluke, one or something like that, that is something that seems to be incorrect about the uniform. So I suppose if someone else can correct me on that, then that would be great. But as far as I'm aware, they have this lining incorrect. But thankfully it is, on the inside of the uniform. You're not going to be able to notice that, or when you're wearing it, no one's going to be able to tell, oh no, that guy's farb. So a minor complaint there. One other thing that I wanted to point out is that on the inside, again, of the Military Harbor Tunic, the way that these seams are finished here, and I'm going to go in close here, with this kind of zigzaggy back and forth running down the whole length of it, that is a modern method of closing off a seam or closing off the end of a piece of fabric. Again, looking through documentation, I have not been able to find any instances of actual German HBT tunics using that method. Comparing with the ATF one here, again, this is the method that they used. It was just a single straight stitch running all the way down, and that's what captured those ends to keep them from fraying. They folded it back on itself, as you can see, and that is present all throughout the ATF Tunic. So, something interesting to note. Again, it is technically farb, as far as I'm aware, but it's not something that someone is going to see right off the bat unless they're, trying to tear your uniform inside out to take a look at it. So, a relatively minor issue, all things considered. And then I wanted to briefly touch on this. The inside suspension holders, these are fine. These are great compared to originals. Originals were actually made out of a whole bunch of different materials, which could range from actually reusing the old internal suspenders, the big long ones that they used on the earlier model M36 and M40 tunics. They would actually cut those up and then reuse them and sew them in place here. Or they could also just use individual strips and then kind of do what they did here. They also had strips that had holes on one side of them and then a flat backing on them, or another piece of material that went on the inside of it, and that didn't have any holes, so you'd actually have another piece like that, covering it. So again, there's lots of different ways that they were done. These are perfectly fine, and as you can see, I have belt hooks in them right here, like so. So overall, I'm going to fold this back out, put it back in place. Overall, if you're looking to get a good tunic, especially for the price, considering that it's going to set you back just a little bit, over $100, if I remember correctly, it was like around that price range, versus the ATF Tunic, which is going to run you up a little bit more. Overall, it's a good tunic. There we go. And the other good thing I like about it is that it's actually the M42 model, which the ATF does not reproduce. They only have the M43 model, which is fine for the most part. Most of the time, these are going to be more late war events that you're going to be running this in, and it's not really going to matter. But every once in a while, it is cool to see an earlier model HBT uniform, since they did make them in the M40 model as well as M42. before finally going over to the M43. So if you're looking to get one of those earlier models, you're not really going to be able to find anywhere else that's going to have them. So, that's something else to consider. And overall, it's a good tunic. It's nicely fitted to me, and I didn't get this custom tailored actually. I just got it kind of off the rack, the sizing that they go for, and it fits me great. Like I said, the ATF one is a little bit on the longer side, which is fine. It's not that big an issue. It's 1.5 inches, 2 inches or whatever. But wearing the Military Harbor one, it just feels a little more fitted and, riding how it should be, like I should be wearing it on my body. So, that's a minor little piece for me, a little anecdote. So, yeah, it's a good tunic overall, good quality. It's not going to fall apart on you. It's not, just Chinese trash. So if you're looking at getting one of them, I would recommend it, especially if you're not looking to get, quite nearly break the bank with an ATF or even like an SM wholesale set, which are really going to run you up. So, yeah, it has a couple little minor flaws with the lining being the incorrect material, and with those modern machine edges, how those are finished up. But otherwise than that, you're not going to tell when you're wearing it. Slap some insignia on it, and you're going to be good to go. So overall, I think it's a good buy. Like I said, I would recommend it to people that are looking for a decent tunic, and especially, obviously, if you're looking to get one of those lesser seen models, the M40 or M42. So otherwise, I think that wraps up this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.